do you think addiction served you?
It gave me the one thing that I so fucking desperately needed, which was humility. I had no humility. I was a victim. Everything was everybody else's fault.
The journey for me started in researching you at 27, and actually it was a post that you made, which was at 27. It showed a picture of you at 125 pounds having ketamine and cocaine for breakfast. Today, you've got SunLife Organics. As a drug addict, what aspirations did you have, and how did that change to today?
I left Ohio like most idiots to go seek fortune and fame in LA. I mean, there's a lot of that there. People leave because they believe that fortune and fame is going to cure them. It's going to fix them. Was in a rock and roll band with I was playing music with Mark Ford from the Black Crowes and Dwayne Betts and Barry Oakley Jr. I mean, I was working with some real musicians. I was cast in a couple of commercials, got my SAG card. But I really felt like that fame was the ultimate goal, and that was going to be the panacea that was going to cure everything. And then life happened. And then I went through what I went through. And
was fame a contributing factor to addiction?
I mean, hanging out with those guys that were kind of living off of second generation fame gave me access to things that I normally wouldn't have had access to. The heavier drugs, the parties on the beach, the houses, the parties that went on forever, the drugs that seemed to be for free. I mean, everybody was rich. Nobody had a fucking job in Malibu in the mid 90s, late 90s. Everything was acceptable. I mean, nobody had a moral compass. It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense. So the fame definitely contributed to it, but I just wanted to make some music and die.
How do you think addiction served you, if at all?
It gave me the one thing that I so fucking desperately needed, which was humility. I had no humility. I was a victim. Everything was everybody else's fault. In the process of engaging in addiction, eventually winding up on the streets, eventually selling my body for drugs, eventually becoming filthy, eventually flatlining, overdosing, in and out of county jail, all of that stuff. It just beat the fucking shit out of me so much that when I finally I bottomed out, kept digging, bottomed out, kept digging, bottomed out, got a pickaxe and a shovel, started digging more. When I finally stopped, there was no more fight in me. There was nothing I could do other than look in the mirror and go, you know what? You are living and behaving like a real fucking piece of shit, and it is all you. It has nothing to do that, I was molested and my teachers were mean to me and I had learning disabilities and my parents were immigrants and I was called racist. I had every fucking excuse in the book, but addiction beat that out of me. Addiction beat that out of me. It gave me clarity.
Do you think that you could be where you are today had you not had addiction?
No way. I'd be some fat, bald restaurant manager somewhere. I would go to what I know because it's easy. I wouldn't have the balls to dream again. I was working menial jobs in my mid 30s, couple years of abstinence. And, through a set of very strange circumstances, I kind of was going on a spiritual path, seeking God, like a drowning man seizes a life preserver. And then also kind of like on a financial path, because I'm like, man, if I'm really going to do this, like, I want to be rich. Like, I want to have a good life. I want to be able to have a house someday. I want to be able to have like a wife and, maybe some kids and all that stuff. And because I wasted 3.5 decades already, I really need to fucking get shit going. In that clarity, with a tiny little bit of humility, I became teachable again. It's really hard to be fucking teachable when you're in mid 30s. Really hard. So I started, watched The Secret, and then read Autobiography Yogi, and then read Think and Grow Rich, and psycho-cybernetics and how to win friends and influence people and the science of getting rich by Wallace D. Wattles and As a Man Thinketh. And like, I just fucking, and at the same time was doing yoga and chanting and going to the Self-Realization Fellowship. And I like
went all in.
I just became a seeker, and I developed this voracious appetite that could have never taken place had I not somehow had that spark, that little spark that turned into the forest fire, the beautiful, glorious forest fire of my life.
I know quite a few people that are endurance athletes, like intense, fucking ridiculous ultra marathon people. It is very common for them to have intense addiction as well. It seems like you needed to hit that bottom or subfloor.
The
basement under the subfloor.
Yes.
Do you think that that's also just the personality type you have, where the addiction and the drive that you had with the addiction of I'm just going to do more is parallel to I'm going to do it the best I can now? Or do you think you would have lived in a life of mediocrity? Because it seems like you've got the personality type of I'm going to drive no matter what.
I don't know. There was this guy named Rafi who was like what the fuck did he do? Tai Chi.
Yeah, I never understood Tai Chi.
Me neither.
That was real fucking weird.
Really weird
shit in the park.
And he was Israeli, and he had that weird like list that Israelis have, and he was telling me like, you go to the darkness, you fell down, you go down so far into the darkness, but now you understand that for how far down you've gone is how far you can now go to the light, and you're going to be massively successful. And it intrigued me. So I like that he told me that I was going to become massively successful someday, but I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like I'm a fucking loser. I'm a heroin addict. I'm on welfare. Like I'm fucked. But something about what he was saying that was like, if you go down that far and you are in that much pain, you open your vessel up so much that I think you become a larger than life individual that is not going to be happy with a 9-to-5 job with a dog and a cat and dinner at 6 and a couple of beers, and you watch the game and you pick your favorite team. And that was never going to be me. At 17 years of abstinence, when I had eliminated any debt, was living with the girl of my dreams, had a thriving business, and my life really had become a fantasy. My wildest fucking dreams came from flying around the world. Like everything's amazing. And I had a little bit of like low level anxiety that was just something that was in there. I made a conscious decision to do a plant medicine ceremony with no guilt and no regret. And by the way, it fundamentally changed me forever. And I loved it. And I've done 4, I think, in the last 5 years. I will certainly do another one, but had I done that shit when I was a couple years off the junk,
would have pulled you back in.
I think so.
Yeah. I think that's a really tough heroin, sugar, caffeine, cocaine, Adderall, marijuana, mushrooms. What is a drug?
These are all pornography. As a child, shoplifting, chronically masturbating 5 times a day, 7 times a day. It didn't matter. It was anything to try and not feel like me. Those are all things we use to avoid feeling ourselves.